Let's now take a live look in St. Peter's Square in the Vatican City, just hours after the world woke up to the shocking news of Pope Francis's death. The world continues to mourn the death of Pope Francis, just a day after making a surprise appearance during Easter services. According to a death certificate issued by the Vatican, Francis died of a stroke that prompted irreversible heart failure. It also lists his prior health struggles, including the bilateral pneumonia that recently hospitalized him. Hypertension and type 2 diabetes were also mentioned. Francis died at 88 years old and had been the pontiff since 2013. And 13 WREX's Bailey Bozen joins us in studio tonight. Bailey, you got the chance to speak with the Diocese of Rockford after the devastating news came through. And Bailey, how are they remembering Pope Francis's legacy?
Well, Derek, the diocese is remembering the legacy of Pope Francis, reflecting on his impact within the church and as a global leader, some even sharing their own encounters with him. Bishop David Malloy of the Diocese of Rockford reflects on the final images we have of Pope Francis as he continued to serve the church even near the end.
I think there is a great witness that's been given to us by Pope Francis, as it was by Pope St. John Paul. They were both very transparent in the final days, and of course that's sometimes a contested issue, but that they would show their final days, their final weakening, and there was so much love and compassion that walked with them, and it's a great lesson for us.
Sharing he met the Pope on several occasions.
It was just us and him. He answered questions for 2¼ hours until he said any more questions, and it was a remarkable display of energy, and he never looked at his watch once, so he gave us all the time. So it was quite remarkable, really.
With a diocese co-worker sharing when he too met the Pope.
Here's the whole thing. It's really nice because my wife was pregnant with our daughter, and so the only thing I ever said to the Pope was, "Can you please bless our child?" And so he told us to stand up. There's a huge crowd behind us, and the crowd starts roaring as he blessed our daughter Isabel.
Describing the encounter as an honor.
We were in Rome for about 10 days, but I'd trade every other element away just to be able to shake his hand and have his blessing. That was the best.
With Bishop Malloy sharing one moment he'll never forget when Pope Francis held a moment of faith during the COVID pandemic.
I remember he spoke particularly about the apostles being in the boat being rocked, and Christ seemed to be asleep in the back, and he called on us to trust. I remember that in the middle of that, I was watching it on my computer in my residence, and I actually took the computer and I went down to my chapel midway through the talk because I felt it was so moving and so spiritual that it was better to be listened to in my chapel in front of the Blessed Sacrament.
With his legacy creating a lasting impact.
Pope Francis stood up very much for the issues of the migration, the poor, the throwaway culture, but he also stood up very much on the same principles for the right to life, both at the beginning of life, at the end of life. His legacy, I think, is going to stand on the depth of what over these past 12 years he's offered to our faith.
Bishop Malloy shares there will be a special mass for the intention of Pope Francis on Friday, April 25th at 6:30 p.m. at the Cathedral of St. Peter, inviting all diocesan priests and the public to celebrate his life during the mass. Back over to you.